Athletic, the one, the only Matt Barrows. Good morning, Matthew.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Good. More of ice.
Okay, that was all right?
I got it.
All right, good.
I almost coughed again. What the hell? Am I allergic to Matt? Matt, how's your bye week been?
Very good bye week. Restful bye week. Ready to hit the second half of this slate here.
Well, I just want to ask you out the gate. Jason, actually, you go first.
Well, I was going to ask because, a lot of times, Matt, coaches and teams, on their bye week, they'll do like self-scouting. They'll evaluate what the team has done first half of the season, what they can correct. Do you go back and read your articles and see, where the fine tuning you can do for the back half of the season?
Yeah, there's always fine tuning that you can do for the back half of the season. I get killed by the night games because I'm an old person. And, by the time the game is over and everything's done, you're starting to write at 9 o'clock, and I'm just useless the rest of the week or the early part of the week. And there's a lot of night games left on the schedule. They've got a lot of primetime games, and that's something that sort of tempers the optimism a bit. I mean, the 49ers still have 9 games to go, so they haven't even played half of their season, and they were ground down by the first half, and the second half is harder. There's more games on the road. There are more primetime games. The weather's going to be worse. They're playing in Green Bay. They're playing in Buffalo. So there are reasons to think that, attrition was a bit of an issue over the first 8 games. They've got 9 remaining, and these are the tougher games to play.
I will say this. You refer to yourself as an old person, Matt, and I know we've been together a long time, but I will say maybe one of the greatest benefits of being follicleless. I'm being complimentary here. Okay. Matt, I honest to God, I would put the range at plus minus 15 years at least in trying to guess your age. I have no idea. I mean, you've aged quite well. I don't think you look much different than when we got started. I mean, that's nothing but compliments from me, my friend.
Well, when you go bald, it means that you never go gray. So
yes.
There's that advantage. I mean, women never talk to you again, but you never go gray. So I mean, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Wow, we've uncovered some things.
That being said, let me just ask you a simple one out of the gate. Then, who specifically will John Lynch acquire today in a trade?
I mean, if I had to bet on somebody, and I've got no inside knowledge of this, they've made a lot of phone calls. So they're inquiring about a lot of guys, as they always do. Yeah. But the guy that makes the most sense to me is Arden Key on Tennessee. He's an ex-49er. They liked him. He liked being here. He really started to, find himself when he was with the 49ers. And he's a guy that can play defensive end and give you some snaps at defensive tackle too. So you'd get a lot of bang for your buck with Arden Key. On paper, he makes a lot of sense. So if I had to make a guess on who they pick up, and I think they will pick somebody up, although the clock is ticking now. Yeah. That would be the one. But there are other players that make sense too. Dalvin Tomlinson on the Cleveland Browns. The Browns play a very similar system that the 49ers play. He's a defensive tackle. Sebastian Joseph Day, he was here for a minute last year. He's on the Titans too, plays defensive tackle, played for Brandon Staley in the past, is familiar with the 49ers system. These are all guys that could come in and give you 25 snaps against Tampa on Sunday.
These are all defensive players you mentioned. Is that kind of the area you think most likely, or will they look at any offensive help?
Yeah, I thought running back would have been a spot. If Christian McCaffrey hadn't, he had a setback or it wasn't going to come back in full. It looks like he is coming back in full. At least the 49ers think he is. So that would be one spot. And then wide receiver would be the other, because of the Brandon Ayuk injury. My sense is that the 49ers were buoyed enough by what they saw from Ricky Pearsall, the fact that they're getting Juwan Jennings back, the fact that Deebo Samuel isn't hurt that much, that they're not going to make an addition there. Although, I mean, if something came around, a very low-cost one, that could be something that they do.
So not Tyreek Hill or Myles Garrett, if you had to guess.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think this is going to be more of a kind of Charles Omenihu type of pickup. You're not quite familiar with the name, but the guy ends up being a solid addition.
Very Omenihish, they say, as Matt Barrows of The Athletic joins us. Matt, Christian McCaffrey, you mentioned him. I know it's limited and all that, but any intel on how he looked, people are saying he looked? I mean, what I'm getting at in my usual long-winded way is I'm afraid that like McCaffrey's going to come back and everyone's going to look at him as like this super savior. Everything's great now. McCaffrey's back. We're also asking a guy who's on the wrong side of 26 with 2 Achilles bothering him to come off the not the couch, but off the treadmill, let's say, and just impact things. Maybe that happens, but should we be, I'll use the term again, couching our expectations a little bit with him at first?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the 49ers will not couch expectations, but they're not going to go full bore with him right off the bat. It's not going to be the 2023 midseason where he's getting 90% of the offensive snaps. I think they're going to be cautious with it early on. And you're right. I mean, this is a guy that logged, I think, among running backs, there were only 2. The Buccaneers rusher, Rachaad White, and the Jaguars rusher, Etienne, who got anywhere close to what McCaffrey was getting last year in terms of the bulk of the work and getting a lot of snaps and never coming off the field. The 49ers rode him hard last year. There's no question about it. And my question, I wrote about this earlier in the week, is I do think that they'll be cautious with him early on, certainly in Tampa, and then probably the next week and probably the week after that. But I just wonder, as we get closer into December and closer to the playoffs, whether they revert to last year as far as his usage, because, it's a better offense with him in it. Bobby Turner, the running backs coach, hasn't been a running backs by committee guy, really ever in his career, and certainly not last year with the 49ers. He's a hot hand guy. So if he feels like the offense is rolling with Christian McCaffrey, he's going to keep him in there. And I can guarantee you that Christian McCaffrey isn't tapping the top of his helmet to come out either. So they're going to have to fight their instincts, I think, if they want to reduce Christian McCaffrey's load from what it was last year, because, I think that they're going to be, they're going to feel like he should be on the field all the time.
Just to put an exclamation point, Jason, on what Matt just said, Rachaad White and Travis Etienne are both 25 years old. Rachaad White had 272 carries last year. He has 70 this year. Travis Etienne, also again 25. He had 267 carries last year. He has 59 so far this year for the Jaguars. Christian McCaffrey, 28 years old, and coming off of, like we said, the Achilles issue. So to Matt's point, those 2 other high volume backs last year are showing a significant drop off in work volume, and they're 3 years younger than McCaffrey.
Yeah, no, and so I think that's a fair way to look at this, Matt, in that regard. So kind of where do you think the biggest boost would come from if McCaffrey is back and implemented? Is that in the red zone? Is that more in the passing game? How do you think he will impact this team the most when he is right?
Yeah, red zone is a big one. I mean, he had already scored 13 touchdowns at this point last year, on his way to leading the league in that category. He's good in the red zone. He typifies what the 49ers do best, which is, are they going to run the ball? Are they going to pass the ball? And so in the red zone, that really helps. And he obviously has a good rapport with Christian McCaffrey as far as the passing game. A good rapport with Brock Purdy. And, I think that's the other area that benefits. I mean, Brock Purdy's completion percentage last year was up around 70%. This year, it's down around 64%. That's probably the minimum that you want your starting quarterback to be at. And I think that having Christian McCaffrey back there, certainly on third downs early on, I think that's a good way to kind of ease Christian McCaffrey back into the mix. You have him be your third down back, maybe in Tampa. That's going to help right away. And I expect that completion percentage, I don't know if it'll ever get to 70% this year, but my bet is that it consistently rises over these last 9 games.
That's Matt Barrows joining us. So, yeah, there we go. Here we are again, Matt. The 49ers are sitting at 4-4. They're coming off a bye week, almost exactly halfway through the season. We're fixated on John Lynch to make an impact move. They've still got some rough schedule ahead of them, but a lot of rough schedule behind them as well. So I would imagine, Matt, nobody's closer to the team in the locker room than you are through the years, that the mood in San Francisco, or should I say in Santa Clara, is anything but panic at this point. One of those we've got them right where we want them sort of things.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you look at this team and what they've done in the second half of seasons in recent years, 21 and 22 were sort of comeback over the last 8 games. And you can make an argument that this is a more talented team. I mean, they've got Christian McCaffrey coming in. So in that way, it's a lot like 22, except for he doesn't really need he's not learning the offense. He already knows how to run in the system, which was a little bit of something that he had to catch up with back in 22. But to your earlier question, what kind of impact can he make over the second half? I mean, even in 22, when he's coming in fresh, he's coming in from Carolina, never played in the Shanahan system. He still went on a tear. He scored 10 touchdowns in the second half of the season. He scored 3 touchdowns in the first game that he started, which was in Los Angeles. That was the game that he threw, ran, and scored a receiving touchdown. So he does have the ability to make a big impact right away, and he's shown that in the past. I just think this time it'll kind of hinge on how cautious the 49ers are going to be about him and those 2 sore Achilles tendons.
Matt, one last one for me at least. Matt's brought to you by Stockton Honda. The division, it's far more competitive than I think a lot of people thought. Who do you think the Niners would kind of tell you if they had a chance to talk about the rest of the division that they're most worried about? The Cardinals, the Seahawks, or the Rams?
Well, the Cardinals are at the top of the division right now, and I think it's interesting that the 49ers' final game is in Arizona, so that could end up being very consequential. But I think it's the Rams. I think that the 49ers have a lot of respect for Matthew Stafford, a guy that they tried to trade for a few years ago. And I think the Rams have just done a really great job of drafting recently. They've got 2 defensive ends and they've got 2 wide receivers, which is sort of like the holy grail of drafting. Those are the positions that you want to nail. And they've nailed them, especially the 2 edge rushers. They look like they've found keepers, guys that are going to really bug the 49ers for years to come. This is a team that lost Aaron Donald, and I'm sure the 49ers had a sigh of relief when that finally happened. But Jared Verse and Byron Young, like I said, I think that they're going to be problematic for the 49ers for a while. And they're only going to get better this year, barring injury.
That's Matt Barrows of The Athletic. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. Also subscribe to The Athletic. As a matter of fact, my subscription just renewed yesterday. I got the little notification. Happy to pay that and support local journalism. I steal it twice the price, though. I don't want to pay twice what I'm paying, but just saying, steal it twice the price. For Matt and our friend Sam Amick and so many others that we get great sports coverage from. Matt, appreciate you as always, and hopefully next time we talk, it's after a nice Niner victory.
All right, talk to you guys next week.
All right, yes, sir. Take care. We will take a break. When we